What's up, everyone? Just hopping on now. Starting the weekly lives again. Tampa Tom. What's good? How's everyone's quarter ending for people that are in tech sales? What color is my Bugatti? No Bugatti yet, but I'll probably do blue. The Plaid, though, is white, which is actually, I think, just as fast as a Bugatti. Oh, man, these are all dirty. Anyway. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and get started. So one of the most common questions that I get is, what is tech sales? So tech sales is B2B software sales. So let's break it down. B2B, business to business. So usually when people hear sales and they're like, ew, sales, they're thinking about B2C sales, business to consumer. So like selling cars, selling insurance, selling cell phones. So when you think of like those salespeople, you think of like high pressure, they're trying to sell you something that you don't really need, you're gonna get ripped off. And so B2C is business to consumer. So you're selling to other businesses. You're still selling to people within those businesses, but very rarely is there just one person involved. It's a much longer sales process. Like those high pressure sales techniques, they don't work in tech sales. So that's why one of the other questions people ask is, do you have to be an introvert or extrovert to do good in tech sales? No, you need to be a good listener and you need to be able to build trust with people. That's kind of what it comes down to. I'm gonna get a lot of questions here, so I'll try to get through all of them. So you're interested in being an AWS, you're in inside sales right now with Infor. Start networking with some of the AWS reps and then try to get a referral. That'll help a lot. They don't have a ton of openings on AWS, but start networking with like hiring managers as well. That'll help. What is it that you're selling? COTS or custom SaaS enterprise? So I've sold cloud at both Google, Amazon. Now I'm doing it at Azure. I've done cybersecurity. I've done machine learning. I've done hardware. So I've done a few, but mostly it's been in the enterprise space. I wouldn't consider cloud as SaaS. How do you get started? So if you want to get started from the ground level, look at my playlist on my profile, Get Into Tech Sales. I break it down step by step. Maybe I'll do that in one of these sessions, kind of break it down step by step. I also am getting ready to launch a totally free course. I partnered with Bravado. The link is in my description. I don't know if I can say the name because I think TikTok kind of blocks or deprioritizes you. But anyway, it's a free course. Have it set for 5 weeks, and we're finally getting ready to launch it next month, like the first week of next month. So check it out. It's going to break it down step by step. You know, what baseline level of knowledge do you need? What positions to apply for? How to network? How to work on your LinkedIn? How to work on your resume? How to interview successfully? Yep, yeah, I did leave AWS just after 2 years. I was kind of waiting for that 2-year vest. How often do I change jobs? I've changed them, usually it's about every 2 years or so. How do you know when it's time to bail and start up you're working at? Great question. So there's a couple different ways you can use to kind of decide if you're ready to move on to the next startup or not. One, how much of your equity is vested? If you already have like 2 years of vested equity, it might be actually a good idea just to change companies anyway, just to diversify your portfolio, right? You don't want to be so invested in one single startup because not every startup is going to do really well when they go public. If they go public, it's not even guaranteed. So I've heard from other people that have done quite a few startups. One person I know, I think he's done 8 different startups and he would stay at them for about 2 or 3 years. Very rarely did he stay longer than that. And then he had equity at all these different companies, and now he's 10 years later, for some of the earlier companies that he was at, they're going public or they're getting acquired, He's getting paid out on his equity, which is pretty awesome. Digging the vest, thanks. It's getting a little chillier in Chicago, not quite yet though. How fast can you move from SMB AE to enterprise? Great question. So if you're a top performer, a top G BDR, so I'll break it down. For BDR to AE, so if you're top G, then 12 months you can do it. I did it. For me, it was right at like 9 months. I came in, I saw the metrics I was going against. There was like 14 other SDRs as well. I knew I wanted to get into a closing role to make that bigger commission check. So I basically took the weekly goal that we had for activity and for opportunities generated, and I just multiplied that by 150%. And within a couple weeks, I was already performing at the top of the team. We had a leaderboard that everyone could see. Everyone was kind of sitting in the office, kind of around. And then because of that, and I started networking with the sales manager, I made it clear with my manager too that I wanted to get promoted. I was able to get into an AE role very quickly within 9 months. But usually for people, it's 12 to 18 months. It kind of also depends on like the company that you're at. Some companies only do like promotions like twice a year. So other ones will do it throughout the year. Yeah, so no longer at AWS. I think I gotta update it, but yeah, I'm doing stuff with ByteDance actually. So ByteDance, they have a whole enterprise app team. So for people that don't know, ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok, and they have a whole enterprise app division. They don't have too big of a presence in the United States. One of their main products is Lark. It's like a Slack competitor. So I'm helping them sell that within the US. It's very big actually in China and Asia. Is it worth it to move from AE at Oracle to associate AE at AWS? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would assume that's probably like a level 4 role at AWS, but if it's same pay, ideally it should be higher pay, but even if it's like the same pay, I would say it would be a upgrade to move from Oracle to AWS. How long does it take to move from small business AE to enterprise AE? That's gonna vary by company as well, but typically, in most cases, especially at like the bigger tech companies, they don't like to promote people too quickly. So usually it's like 2 years if you're like a solid performer, maybe a year and a half. Especially on the sales side, going from one tier to another, they want to see like consistent performance quarter over quarter before they move you up to the big leagues there. When did I switch? Pretty recently. Hey Tom, I got an offer to edit your videos. Awesome. I got a bunch of emails actually from the Instagram story that I put out for kind of some of the positions that I'm looking to fill. So I will check that out, Felix. Yeah, I'm looking for content editors. I'm looking also to launch like a newsletter, build out that whole Discord community, really add some more value there too. Do you have some raw footage? I do have some raw footage. I record for my professional, whatever looking content. So I've got a Sony A7 S3. I typically record in S-Log 3, and I can definitely send you that raw footage there. I do 10-bit 422. Can any business major break into tech sales? Yeah, absolutely. Any business major can. And sorry guys, I'm gonna try to get through all of them. I was also doing the subscription thing too, and then unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know, it ended up working out well. I was traveling for like 4 weeks, bought that RV, and I just kind of fell off on the live schedule. But if you guys want to resub, I was actually re-messaging the supplier for the grass flip-flops because I'm going to do some tech sales branded gear. I still am going to honor, I think I said it was for the first 100 subscribers. I have a list of all the people that already subscribed in the past. For the first 100, you're going to get a free pair of the grass flip-flops. I'm going to do I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do on the logo, but I'll probably do like TST or something like pretty small. And then the bottom will be like tech sales or tech sales is elite or something like that. Just got a job at AWS. Awesome, man. Congrats. I referred quite a few people, and it's a process to get in, but glad to hear that you were able to get through it. What did I major in school? I majored biomedical engineering at the University of Illinois in Champaign. Just got your first tech sales job. Congrats, Brenda. That first job is the hardest, but once you're in, you're in. It's great. It's a great career. How do you feel about hardware sales? Hardware sales, I did it for 2.5 years. It's tough, mostly because margins are a lot smaller than they are within software. The customers that you're selling to typically don't have the same sense of urgency as they do on the software side. If you want to make like the big bucks, you pretty much have to move to software sales. How long have I been doing tech sales? I've been basically doing it since 2014. What are the cons of AWS as a workplace? So cons, I would say the con maybe is that it's pretty big sales org now. So sometimes things can move, pretty slowly. The other thing too is it's really manager dependent. So your experience there is going to depend on your team and your manager. So I've heard of some teams that had like terrible work-life balance, a lot of pressure, super high quotas. So it's going to depend for sure where you're specifically joining within AWS, and also like even within like the specific role too. So there's so much variance. I think part of it is there's very high performance expectations like throughout, and then because they're still growing really fast, you get people that move into management and then they're trying to kind of keep that same pace, and at the same time the org is still growing and growing and growing, and it becomes hard to kind of like maintain that like startup agility as you get bigger. I'd say it's probably like maybe that main one there. You're just starting your career as a network engineer, pay is bad. Would it be worth moving to sales? Yeah, you could definitely like make the move into like a sales engineer role for sure. If you're a network engineer, absolutely, you could definitely make that move. Enterprise sales engineers, they'll make 200, 250K. I've done the sales engineering role a couple times, so I've done both. You have a higher base salary, lower commission than sales. A little bit lower earning potential, but it's more stable. Do I enjoy renting? So I do both. I rent and buy. So in Chicago here, renting at the NEMA building, it's like $6,300 a month or whatever, with like because I'm paying also for like 3 parking spots. But I love it. Downtown spot. It's great. I'm supposed to be closing on one place. There was gonna be another one. That one fell through. A condo in West Loop. So I prefer to buy. Like I have a couple pieces of property in Austin, Texas. If you know network infrastructure, go get your Azure AWS certifications. Yeah, absolutely. Once you get those certifications, like the cloud professional architect certifications, that's gonna open up so many doors. Are you buying the Apple Watch 8 or the SE? I think I probably will upgrade. I think I have like the 6. I already did do the pre-order for the iPhone Pro 14 though. You're in solar sales right now, good money, but industry isn't going to be good. How do I get into tech sales? Great question. So again, a lot of people that are asking to transition from one sales industry to another. One of the best ways to transition over is to leverage your prior sales experience. So if you're selling into like a specific type of customers or a specific industry, like if you're in the auto industry, for example, there's a bunch of tech companies that sell software aimed at dealerships, for example, or aimed at like car manufacturers. So try to like find like some sort of common ground between what you're doing right now and your interest with the companies that you want to target for your tech sales role. So tech sales, super broad. What I tell people is try to like narrow down a list of like 20 or 30 companies that you really would like to get into. And then from those 20 or 30 companies, try to like line them up so they're kind of in that same vertical, same industry. It makes your interview prep that much easier. And then identify 3 to 4 people on LinkedIn that you think you might be able to get a referral from. So obviously this is usually going to be happening through LinkedIn. You're You're probably not going to be connected to them, but you're going to try to look for people that are like within the sales team, sales departments, people that maybe went to the same school as you, they're from the same state, some sort of like common ground. You're going to customize your invitations, and you're basically going to cold call and prospect into these individuals to get referrals. And your goal is to line up as many interviews as you can in a row, and then the referrals will help you greatly land these interviews. The interviews is the hardest part when you don't have prior tech sales experience. How do you close an interview? How can you use that for SDR? So great question. So how do you close an interview? So it's extremely important that you close with very strong questions for the person that's interviewing you. You have to remember, it's not just them interviewing you, you're also interviewing the company to make sure that it's a good fit for you. So if they ask you at the end of the interview, do you have any questions for me? If you answer, no, I think I'm good, that's actually a red flag a lot of times. It shows that you're not really thinking about yourself seriously within this role. If it's a sales position, you absolutely should have questions. You should have questions about the territory, questions about the leadership style of the manager, questions about what types of customers do we sell best to, where are some of the product gaps that we have, what are some of the common traits among your strong performers, questions about the territory, quota attainment, what type of training and enablement do you provide. Whole list of questions that you should be asking for sure. And if you do that, that's gonna two things. One, shows that you're really excited about the position and that you're thinking about the position. And two, it also kind of already puts the interviewer in the mindset that like, oh, this person's actually probably gonna get the position. You're almost kind of like going into a pre-onboarding stage there. What's the most successful position you've seen from someone with no college degree? I mean, I've seen people, launch their own startups, tech startups with no college degree. So I mean, that to me, like being a founder is like the highest sales level. But yeah, there's no restrictions there. Is tech sales hunting or farming? Currently work inside the base. It depends. There's both roles. There's hunter roles where you're selling to new accounts, new business, and there's also farming roles, account management roles too. And there's also a mix of both. Cloud is, for example, a mix of both. You're typically given a patch of customers, and you get quota attainment against anything that they spend on the cloud. But it's as they spend, because cloud is a pay-as-you-go model. So you end up kind of like landing these new accounts and then also growing them as well. Referrals are the GOAT. You've gotten 7, working on 3 more, 5 interviews so far. Absolutely. So interviews for sure, or referrals are like super, super important, especially nowadays, and also especially for the entry-level positions. When you don't have like prior experience, referrals are extremely important because obviously without prior experience, they're going to give preference to people that have referrals, people that are vouching for you. They're going to give preference to people that maybe go to like elite colleges or have a technical background. But if you have a referral, that's gonna basically put you at the top of that resume stack. Later on in your career, once you have like experience at like bigger tech companies, for example, your resume, your LinkedIn does the talking for you. The referrals aren't quite as important, but they actually still do make a difference too. Landing your first tech sales job thanks to all your advice, 7 months in. That's awesome. Congrats. How's it going? I know the first 6-12 months, I would say the first 6 months is like pretty tough, especially the first 3 months, and then you start to get more and more comfortable with it. What made you want to leave the warm blanket of AWS for something new? It was a couple things. I had a really good year in 2021. They held back Quota due to COVID, and then the economy bounced back quickly, so crushed Quota, made a lot of money, and then so I had 2 accounts. And then for this year, Quota was actually pretty high, and these 2 accounts, they're kind of dead accounts. They're like these legacy companies that really are going to be probably bankrupt in, I would say, the next 10 years for sure. So no real growth potential there. Actually, when I left, I think they were tracking for like 70% of Quota. So I was like, But I was actually looking at the ByteDance opportunity for almost a year. The head of the U.S. sales team US go-to-market. He joined actually from Salesforce, and then he joined my Discord after he saw my TikTok videos, and he started telling me about the opportunity. This was back in like July, and did a bunch of interviews, had the position lined up in, I guess it was November, it was October or November, but had a bunch of commission that I was waiting on to come from, AWS, and that kind of lined up, in like, March, April. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. I'm looking to kind of like elevate the ByteDance brand as a whole. And then one of the things I'm going to be doing as well is kind of tying the ByteDance, the TikTok ad sales teams with this enterprise software team too. Are commitment-based roles a red flag? What do you mean by commitment-based roles? That's interesting. What's my quota? So the current quota, it's actually pretty low. So that's one of the things when you join a company where they have like a new product, usually the quotas are low. So mine actually, they just changed it. It used to be like bringing on new logos, and then now it's they just switched it to a revenue base, but it's pretty low. It's like $8,000 for Q3, because it's kind of like a new whatever thing, and then I think for Q4, it's going to be, I think, 15. So super low. They're keeping the expectations low. Logo is just like a new customer. So the way that what we're selling is it's a Slack kind of competitor. You can kind of think about that, and it's much smaller deal sizes than what I was used to before, but there's a whole portfolio of other enterprise apps that ByteDance is kind of working on, so I'm excited about those too. What do you think about pre-sales? You're looking at SAP's Pre-Sales Academy. Pre-sales is great. I've done the sales engineer role a couple times. It's less quota pressure than the sales reps. Like if your territory falls flat, they're going to blame the sales rep first, not the sales engineer. So you're a bit more protected. Usually you have a higher base salary. On the flip side, lower commission. So sometimes it can kind of suck as a sales engineer or pre-sales engineer, where you work really hard on a deal, and you're working during like the trial process, which I've been on proof of concepts trials for that lasted like 4 or 5 months, and you're putting in all the hours on it, and you close the deal, and then sometimes it just kind of sucks knowing that like the sales rep gets like 4x the commission that you did, even though you did all that work kind of during that period. But sales itself there's a lot of things that you do on the back end that you don't realize as a sales engineer. How do you make the lateral move from logistics to tech? Great question. So there's a ton of tech companies in the logistics space. That's how I would make that move for sure. So your logistics background, you can definitely leverage that. That's going to help you understand the customers, understand the product. What company do I recommend for entry-level sales? I recommend joining a medium to large public company. You're going to get like more consistent training, more consistent career growth. Overall, definitely you're going to have a better experience there. If you join like a really small startup for your first tech sales role, sometimes you might not get any training at all. You might be, your manager, this might be their first manager position. They might have been like the first sales rep that just got, pushed into a management position. And yeah, that's kind of the short answer there. You can also look at RepView. RepView is good to validate, how good the company is. Do you think tech sales bootcamps are a scam? Yeah, I mean, it depends. So the ones that I don't mind are the ones where you don't pay anything. So like, for example, Shift Group is one that I've partnered with. It's totally free. But they only work specifically with retired and current athletes, collegiate and professional athletes, and they work as more of a recruitment agency. So they do free training and coaching, and then they try to place you. And the way that they make their money is they get money from the company that they place you with, and it's like when you're selling a house, for example, or buying a house, right? You get a cut. So that's what they do. So there's a lot of free options out there. People have gotten into roles with just my free videos that I have on my profile. The Get Into Tech Sales playlist, they've gotten in with that. Some of the boot camps, they charge quite a bit. They might do like an income share agreement. I mean, it kind of depends on your options there. I would definitely do like the free stuff first. What was my quota at Google as an AE? The quota, it was I think it was like 4.3 million for the year, something like that. And it was like I had a patch of like 112 accounts, 120 accounts, and like 80% of them were greenfield accounts. Is ByteDance related to TikTok? Yeah, ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok. So you can think about like you've got Alphabet, and then you've got Google, YouTube, and everything else. So Alphabet, maybe not even a lot of people don't even know that Alphabet is actually the parent company of Google. They kind of did a rebranding. So that's kind of another example would be you've got like Amazon, and then you've got like Amazon Prime, and then you've got Amazon like Web Services, all those subsidiaries. So ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok. What's my quota now at Amazon? So I left Amazon actually, but my quota was, it was 9 figures, very big. I was only managing 2 accounts. What was the commission on that 4 million? So my on-target commission was, I think it was only like 50K for the year. That was what it was actually like. At the time, their plans were actually for AEs were actually really base heavy instead of commission heavy. Since then, they've changed it. It was basically like a 65-35 split. Now it's like a 40-60 split from what I've heard from current reps there. Emailed me today about working as part-time BDR. Awesome, man. I got like 10 or 12 emails. I will definitely get back and respond to all of those there. Current Amazon employee, non-tech PM role. Thoughts on how to best break in to AWS? Best way is you got to get an internal champion. So internal transfers are possible. They're not easy by any means. So find an internal sponsor, someone on that team that you want to transfer into that'll kind of help you and guide you and prep you. And then you're going to need to brush up on, they have it's almost a similar bar to an external hire. So what do you think about CrowdStrike? CrowdStrike's great. One of the best sales reps that I worked with at the cybersecurity startup. She's a sales leader there right now. Why did I leave? There's a few different things, but mostly is like accounts, and then quota wasn't looking great, and then the other opportunities were more exciting. Apartment tour. Yeah, we could do an apartment tour. I won't do one right now though. What do you think about Seamless AI? I don't know a ton about Seamless, but they are on my, I was actually going to do one of the podcasts with them. What do you do after you apply to a job to give you a better chance? So before you apply, you should be getting a referral. That's the number one thing to get a better chance at like getting an interview. After you apply, let's say if you applied and you didn't get the referral, you can still try to find out who the hiring manager is, and then just send them a quick note on LinkedIn saying like, hey, I'm super excited, just put in my application, blah, blah, blah. How much cold calling do you do in a given day? So as a BDR, SDR, most of your day is going to be cold calling, cold emailing, and then LinkedIn messages. Although people don't call quite as much, but it's still important to call because if someone sees that you're calling them a bunch of times and you're emailing them, they're more likely to actually respond back to your email because they want you to stop calling, for example, and stop leaving voicemails. Seamless sends crazy LinkedIn messages. Want to be an SDR with 200K OTE? Yeah, I wonder. Maybe I've heard of companies kind of like elevating the SDR role too, because it used to be almost exclusively a transitionary role, meaning you weren't really meant to be an SDR, BDR for your whole career. You're meant to be in it for like 1 to 2 years, kind of as a paid apprenticeship as you get ready to become an account executive. But lately I've been seeing that some companies have been building out this inside sales path, and they've been kind of setting people up to be career long SDR, BDR. So I'd be curious to know if that's what they're doing. Thoughts on switching companies before BDR promotion to AE? Usually I recommend stick it out to get to that AE promo. If you think you can get promoted within 6 months, wait it out, get that promotion first before you bounce, because if you join another company as BDR, you're basically resetting that like 1 to 2 year timeline, right, for getting promoted. But if you're really not enjoying it, if that new company, that BDR company, if it's like the company that you want to be an AE at, actually it might not be a bad move, because it is easier to get into like the big tech companies, for example, as a BDR versus an AE. So if you can get in as a BDR, maybe it'll be a little bit of a lateral move, but hopefully you can set yourself up to get promoted to an AE there, and that'll be a better kind of position. Just applied to become a demand gen intern next summer at AWS. Good luck, man. Do you think SaaS and tech sales has peaked? Is it oversaturated over? No, definitely not. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to, it's going to be like any other role. It's like people saying, like, they've been saying for a long time, like, for example, that computer science has peaked or it's oversaturated. So the truth is, it's just like any role. For example, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to try to go for those entry-level positions, but not everyone's going to have like the right mindset or the personality, or they might not just like really enjoy the role, for example. So just like in any other corporate role, right, you get more people at the entry-level role, and then you get less and less people as you get into the more senior roles. So one of my investments, real estate. So yeah, majority of my investments are in real estate. And then stocks, I keep it pretty simple. I do S&P 500 index funds. For my 401ks, I max out the 401k match. Like this year, I maxed out my 401k in January, because that was when I had like a big commission check hit. So I just allocated all of it towards it. Actually, I didn't even change the percentage, but it just ended up maxing it out, which was kind of funny. And then I do some discretionary investing in individual stocks on Robinhood. I do some options trading there. Those are really like the main investments, not too much crypto or anything like that. Is VP of sales role worth it? Yeah, absolutely. Definitely worth it. Yo, this Graham or Tom? No, this is Tom. No Graham. Cold applied to ServiceNow, didn't make it past software, job still open, can you still reapply? Yeah, you could definitely reapply. JB, yes, I can see this. I'm getting a lot of questions, I'm trying to get through all of them, guys, so apologize if I don't get to it. If you do subscribe though, you can click on the little star icon. I think it's like $5 a month. I will definitely prioritize any question that you ask within the Tech Talk Live. Plus, I'll occasionally do some special subscriber only lives too. Biggest commission shake I've ever gotten. So commission shake or commission check? Biggest commission check was about like 230K or something like that. Graham Stefan, in real estate, invest in S&P 500. Yeah, I mean, I've done like riskier investments. Actually, the other fun investment that I do is I'm a big car guy. So I love like making money on like flipping cars. And that's actually been one of my strongest performing assets. What's the next step after account manager? So next step is, there's different tiers, right? So you've got SMB, mid-market, enterprise, key accounts, strategic accounts. There's also the move as well. Sanchez, thanks for subbing. So the other move too is going from like a lower tier company to a higher tier company. Tom, DM me. Felix, yeah, I saw your DM. I'll get back to you. Tom, do companies give home office setup stipends? Yes, a lot of them do. It's not required, but usually they'll give you like $1,000 or $1,500 to buy home office stuff, or they just kind of leave it up to you to buy what you think is absolutely necessary, and then you just submit an expense report. Let's go. He's got the tech tag there. So yeah, TikTok, relatively new program, the subscriber program. I'll be doing more with that. Why did I leave AWS? A few reasons, but like for most salespeople, the reason why we're in sales is to make money. So this new opportunity that I'm in. Definitely, I'm going to make more money this year, and I think in the long term, a lot more as well when ByteDance goes public. If they go public, I don't know. The whole politics behind it is a little interesting. What do I pay for rent? Right now, the rent is it was like $62.50 or something. So it's for a two bed plus den with 3 parking spots in downtown Chicago. Going to SaaStr next week. First conference, first time in San Francisco. Super pumped. Oh, that's awesome. Actually, I might end up going down to that. We'll see. You interview larked and declined. Kind of regret turning it down. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, if you're still interested, it's not bad. Actually, like I declined it at first too back in November, and I thought it was, there were still a lot of things I needed to figure out. They didn't even have like pricing or anything set, or even like the right policies in place to actually sell in the U.S. Now it's actually pretty well defined, and there's still a lot of growth potential. So if you still are interested, you should definitely reach back out. They're growing the team. I'm not sure if you were working with Andy or Alan. Since you're remote, do you say you're living in Texas for tax purposes? Yeah, because I actually do go back and forth between Texas and Chicago. The real estate that I own is in Austin. My license plate, like everything, my registration, driver's license is all Texas based. LLC is Texas based too. Company I was at laid off SDRs. Does that hurt chances of other companies? No, if you got laid off, actually people get like a lot of sympathy on LinkedIn. So you can do like kind of like this like LinkedIn post asking for referrals, and you'll be surprised how much traction you get. Where is the best place for young professionals to live? So young professionals, I think like if you're young, you want to be where other young professionals are. So that's going to be New York City, Bay Area, Austin, Los Angeles, for example. Those are kind of like areas that I would focus on. It's gonna be expensive for sure, but you're gonna get like a lot more networking opportunities, and then you're gonna be surrounded by people like your age too. Where's most of Lark's customer base? Thoughts on the product? So most of the customer base right now is in Asia. The product is actually pretty solid. There's still some things that they're working on to add feature parity, but it's actually very, very popular in China. I think it's like one of the leading collaboration suites, and they've had incredible growth there too. In the US, I think there's some challenges, mostly I think from like the politics behind it, but it is a very, very strong competitor to Slack and Workspaces, for example. Tom, you went from Azure to GCP for ISV partner sales. Who have you seen as the dark horse cloud? I would say the dark horse cloud. So if we're talking about like the big three, right? People take AWS and Azure the most serious. Google, maybe. Google, their play is they like to do like partnerships. They like to throw a lot of money at it, but they're still not making any money on their cloud business. And so I would say if you're looking at those three, I would say it's the dark horse. If you're expanding further out, I would put Oracle, OCI, no way. And then the other one would be IBM. Their cloud is not great either. I was working on Lark. Not sure if TikTok will go public soon though, right? Yeah, that's the thing, because they so it's Lark. That's what I'm selling at ByteDance. So that's the thing. China has been kind of putting a damper on Chinese companies going public, right? So there was a whole thing. I forgot what the companies was. One of them was they were going to go public last year. They had everything set, and then their government basically told them like, "Hey, you're not going public." They have like the whole golden shares thing. So I don't know if I think if anything, they probably would go public on like the Hong Kong exchange, which in this day and age really doesn't matter if it's on the Hong Kong exchange or U.S. stock exchange. Any thoughts on course career, tech sales course? I wouldn't pay for a course, honestly. I thought about, I was going to put out a paid course, and honestly, like, I don't know, me personally, I just like putting out like as much free information as I can. And I'm more about, since I'm in B2B sales, right? I'm not in B2B, I'm not in B2C sales. So I make my money through TikTok on here through partnerships. So I do brand deals, affiliate links where I'm not charging my followers, for example. That's my preference. I think there's all the information that you need for free is out there. You don't need to pay thousands or even hundreds of dollars for a course, right? Commitment-based red flag, you have to pay back $4K in training if you leave within X months. Yes, I mean, that's not like super common, but it's not really too different than like, companies that, for example, they'll give you like a sign-on bonus, and they'll say like, if you leave within the first 12 months, you need to pay back a prorated portion of your sign-on bonus. So, I would say, and there's also a very strong chance too, where like if you did like leave after 10 months or something, they might not even ask to pay anything back or not. We can't see the financials. We think TikTok, ByteDance is breaking even now or better. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't see them either. But you could just look at all the stats in terms of like what they're doing in terms of traffic compared to all the other platforms. It's insane. And everyone's probably seen it too on TikTok. You're seeing more and more big brands. Basically, anytime you see a brand that goes onto TikTok and they're instantly verified, they're verified because they're working with the ad sales reps who are selling them a ton of ad revenue or ad space. And in exchange, they're getting connections with content creators, with ads partners that can create the assets for them to run the ads, and they also verify those accounts. So I think in the past 6 months, there's been a huge uptick in the number of like bigger brands coming on, and then also just more of those ads. So you have to imagine they're making a ton of money. I think the other thing that we're seeing as well is that Facebook and YouTube, like they've reported declines actually in ad revenue. They've had some difficulty with traffic. But I think the other thing too is that companies, when they're advertising on social media, they have a bucket of money and they're choosing what platforms are they going to spend it on. And my hypothesis is, and I think you could probably see this from like the financials from the other companies, is that you have companies that are taking like their ad spend on like Facebook, for example, or Instagram, and they're shifting it to other platforms like TikTok. That's where they're seeing a lot of like the user growth. So I think even though the ad space right now, in a downturn, ads is where you're going to see, usually companies are going to like cut their marketing and ad spend almost immediately in a significant downturn. But ByteDance is in an interesting position with TikTok where they're still on an upward growth in terms of user growth. So even though companies might cut some of their spend, they're likely not going to cut all of it. And they're going to prioritize platforms like TikTok, in my opinion. Interesting question. How did my AWS manager take it when he told him or I was leaving? It happens. So it was actually mutual. I wasn't feeling too excited about it as well. I was supposed to go onto a different account, and then they had we had to change the plans in January. So they also knew that I was doing a lot more on the social media side, and they weren't too excited about it. They were at first, but they actually, for some reason, they didn't like the Bravado Tech Sales U announcement that I did, even though it's free. I'm not charging anything. And then I even like use Amazon or anything on there. So it was pretty mutual there. How do you prevent AEs from taking advantage of us SEs pushing back? Yeah, push back. If you're an SE, definitely push back. Ask, make sure that you're being pulled in only on qualified meetings, right? Don't if the AE keeps on pulling you into meetings with customers that aren't qualified at all, they haven't done any of the work themselves, definitely you can push back on the AE. You can give them a list, say like, hey, before you put me on a call with the customer, I need to know X, Y, Z, so that way I can be prepared, right? You don't want to just be like brought into a meeting and then going in blind and then expecting to kind of pull a demo out from your sleeves and try to nail it, right? You want to come in prepared. First job out of college. So first job out of college was actually in was actually continuing to work at my parents had a small trucking company, so I was helping them out with that. So I did that after I graduated, and that was before I started at National Instruments as an application engineer, more on the tech support side. So I started that and graduated in it's like May of 2013, and then January of 2014 is when I started at National Instruments, moved on to Austin. What's up? Thanks for hopping on. Best tips for getting meetings, AEs with no SDRs. Best tip is don't you gotta do the SDR BDR work yourself, right? So you gotta respect the pipeline, do your prospecting, set aside time to prospect, and it's easier like anything. Just set aside time in the morning. Have like your list of accounts, go into Sales Loft, set your cadence. Have a list of, do some prospecting on LinkedIn there. Ryan, see you later. Yeah, might see you at SaaStr. Did I ever work at Oracle? No. Does Lark assign you a BDR to work with you? Is it full cycle? So they have a whole set of BDR teams. It's not assigned. It's more like a pooled model, but I think they're gonna be changing it up with dedicated BDRs to AEs. But yeah, I mean it's a good amount of lead flow that's coming in, but I'm working on bringing in my own accounts through my network. How long to get till you get to Enterprise AE level 4? To Enterprise AE, going to be a level 4 AWS. So I mean, if you perform well, you can get promoted from level 4 to level 5 in about 2 years, and then 5 to 6 in another 2 years as well. So I would say like 4 years, maybe 3. Do you think it's a bad idea to go into family business? Not necessarily. It depends though. I mean, it depends like what your relationship is with, who's running it. You don't want to strain your relationship with your family. Also, are you actually excited about that business? Are there growth opportunities? One of the things actually I kind of regret maybe is not leaning in a bit more on the family business. But ended up working out. Thoughts on blind calendar invites? You mean like sending out a calendar invite? You could try that as a prospecting thing. Sometimes customers will respond to it, sometimes they won't. But it can't hurt, when you're prospecting and you're writing your emails, it doesn't hurt to suggest a time and then attach an invite. Thoughts on selling from Microsoft Azure? Azure's great. I think they're one of the top. They get a lot of respect. And then very good pay, great work-life balance. How technical is my role? Right now it's not very technical, but it's been more technical. Sanchez, thanks for coming on. I'm gonna be doing, these are coming back, weekly lives. This is going to be posted as well. I'm going to post the recording of this. I did the test live yesterday. I'm going to post it on the YouTube. Do you know anything about Datto and Queso? I don't think so. I started AWS sales at 45 years old. Do you think people would be interested in my story on TikTok? Yeah, I think they could be potentially pretty interested. I might be interested too. I'm going to send you a follow, and then definitely be interested to hear. Yeah, what's interesting is especially at the enterprise levels, I know reps that are in their 60s, for example, their kids are out of college, and they're still crushing it. You're a BDR. There's no path to AE at your current company. When should you start to look around? If there's no path, start looking around already. It doesn't hurt to kind of do a more passive search. Update your LinkedIn, put all of your achievements on your LinkedIn as an SDR. Check that little box that says you're open to opportunities. Only recruiters are going to see that. And then you can put in SDR, BDR, and then AE. Do you think private cloud is the future? I think public cloud is still going to be prevalent, but I think we're going to be seeing more companies adopting, going back, actually maybe even going back to the data centers, right? Managing their own data centers. Because the thing is, you're with cloud, like you're paying for convenience, right? Like for example, on AWS, if you look at like a GPU workload, and you look at the cost of running a workload on a single GPU, it's almost like 10x higher than buying a GPU yourself and running it on your own server. So I think we're gonna be seeing more of like these bigger companies, like for example, Facebook Meta. They Facebook Meta, they do their own data centers because they save a lot of money that way. Tom, I make 700K at L7. I do very little work, kind of bored. How much work is sales really? It depends. It can be a lot of work, or it can be pretty easy. Like if you're in key strategic accounts and you just have like 1 or 2 accounts and they're kind of on autopilot and your growth expectations are low, it could potentially be pretty light work. On the other hand, you could be given some like pretty crappy accounts that with like, and then have like really high goals, and then you're gonna have to like work your ass off. So it kind of depends. At AWS, you're only paid when clouds are migrated. So yeah, so you only get paid when people spend on the cloud. So you can get a customer to agree to, let's say, migrate over an application that's going to spend $1 million a year on the cloud, but until they actually do that migration and until you start seeing it on the AWS console itself, you don't get paid anything in terms of commission. One exception is if you get them to do like a multi-year agreement, you will get like an additional bonus on top of that. Won't make it to reInvent. Yeah, I probably won't make it to reInvent this year. No. Where should you move after large public cloud provider? Enterprise here is too slow. So if you really want to get more excitement, honestly, I think the biggest upside is join like a Series A or Series B startup funded by a Tier 1 venture capital firm. You're going to get probably like the most amount of upside with like least amount of risk. And if you're joining one of those, typically they're gonna see a lot of growth. So you're gonna see that sales team grow a lot. It's gonna give you a lot of opportunities to kind of move up. And AWS map program can be a commission killer. Yeah, it was killing me. I had a killer year last year, like 130% of quota, and then this year it was tracking at like 75%. You feel like the metered structure of public cloud is scaring customers away. Yeah, that's the thing. You could like cloud is it's very easy to spend a lot of money on the cloud, especially if like engineers are just spinning things up. It's not being optimized. You can really rack up the bill really fast. Like one of my customers, I remember he had no idea where the workloads were coming from, and then he literally could not estimate the monthly consumption because of that. When you get equity, do you get every year or just a sign-on? So usually you get like a 4-year equity grant, and typically it's vested over 4 years, meaning you get 25% every year. Vesting schedule can vary by company, and then sometimes, not always, they'll give you more stock every year based on your performance. Am I scared of the recession? Honestly, not really. I have enough like income streams. I'm big on like diversifying income, where I don't even need like a W-2 job to keep things going, especially with like the real estate and the rental income alone. Because I do Airbnb, that's enough to keep me afloat. But then even if, for example, we hit like a really bad recession and Airbnb tanks, right? My mortgage on one of my places in Austin on the lake is only $3,000 a month. And it's a 3,600 square foot house, and it's 3 levels, and I have like the first level separate. So like if anything, literally I have all my investments, can sell it off. I basically only need like $3K a month, like in a worst case scenario, to keep me afloat. So yeah, not too worried. Yeah, I mean it's like it's half of what my current rent is here in Chicago. So to me, it's like really cheap. Everything about buying a supercar. I was very close, like a year and a half ago, to buying a. It was two cars, Ferrari F430, and I wish I did, but I got scared off because I think it was like a prior rental, and it was only like 75K, and then now they're like the cheapest one you could get is like 100K, but it was awesome. It had like a matte black wrap, full exhaust, sounded great. It had 27,000 miles, so I was kind of scared off by that. The other one that I should have bought too, I won it and then just backed out last minute, was a manual Ferrari 360 it was only 65K. But again, I was kind of like worried about the miles, and then in Chicago I was like, I don't know how practical that would be. Although not my other fun car is not practical either. But nowadays, those manual ones, they jumped up a lot too. That was also like a year ago. Now they're like, I think it's worth like 130K or something. How much money do I have in the bank at 30? I mean, in the bank, liquid, I mean, it depends. I've got like money in like, tied up in real estate equity and investment cars and a bunch of portfolios. But like very rarely do I have like more than 6 figures in my checking account. 'Cause when it gets up to that, I just end up like buying or investing into something else. When I get a newer supercar, R8 or 911, I thought about the R8. Actually, another one I almost got was a R8 V10. There was a convertible, 6-speed, supercharged, but it also had quite a bit of miles. This one actually had like 60,000 miles on it. And then I think they were selling it for like 95K. But I ended up actually getting like a factory 5 Ford Roadster replica. Got that one, snagged it for like 23K, and to me, in my mind, it's more fun than any supercar. So that's the other thing. A lot of the newer supercars, they're not super exciting to me. Like all the safety stuff just takes away from like the race car driving experience. Like I used to be a big motorcycle guy. I've had like 12, 13 different motorcycles, sport bikes, Harleys. I've done track riding, dirt biking, and to me, like that's like a raw driving experience that is pretty hard to replicate on the car side, at least on the modern cars. That's why I like the kit car that I have. It's 500 horsepower, no ABS, traction control. It's less than 2,000 pounds. You've got a V8, 5-speed manual. So to me, that's like as fun as any supercar. And then I got the Tesla Model X Plaid, which is also faster than pretty much most supercars too. Do I do one-on-one coaching? I do. I have 2 people I'm kind of helping with on that right now. If you do want to book it, check it out my profile. I don't do too many of them though. I tend to limit it mostly because it's not very scalable from my perspective to do a bunch of one-on-one coaching. When should you switch from Patagonia to Arc'teryx when you hit L6? Sure, yeah, definitely. L6, probably could do L5. Do you ever have buyer's remorse in one of the real estate investments? With the ones that I have, no. Although so I'm building a new property in Austin, and then the one regret that I have is that I didn't build it bigger, mostly because construction costs rose up and I had my build locked in. If I had to do it again, I probably would have done like another 1,000 square feet or whatever. That's probably the one remorse. I've had other deals. Actually, the only other remorse that I have is deals that I backed out on that I wish I didn't. Like in West Loop, there's this really great. It was a live work type. It was a mixed use building, right? So it was in West Loop in Fulton Market. You've got commercial space on the first floor, and then 2,600 square foot condo on the top, 3-bedroom with a rooftop, and they were selling it for like 2.5. I got them down to like 1.8. And then I was a little worried because this was like at the beginning of like the lockdowns or maybe like 6 months into it. I wasn't sure like if people really were going to be going back downtown. It was like a gelato shop. They were doing really well. But my thought was like, man, if like they went out and I have to like cover like the full payment on that property would have been like $14,000 a month. It was like a little risky, but I kind of wish I did because shortly after that I got like a couple long-term partnerships through TikTok where it's like, oh, I mean, that actually would keep me afloat. But is it weird when you pull up to meet a customer in a super nice car? Not really, because also you don't really typically pull up on the car next to them. But oh, question on the nail polish. I did. I don't know if I guess I didn't post it, but I did a video vlog. But it was my 4-year-old's birthday. So I have a 4-year-old and then a 1-year-old, actually, and then been married for I guess 7 years now. So I don't post a lot about my family, but my 4-year-old daughter, she was like, she wanted daddy to go get manicure pedicure, and she picked out the color. So I was like, sure, why not? Tom, you helped me land my dream job. How could you repay me? Oh, well, awesome, man. I'm glad that I was able to do that. That's amazing. So one thing, it could be is like if you want to help out on the Discord, that would be great. Send me a message on Instagram too. Open for any help there. Bite dance comp, it's about 400 with equity. Do you see many tech sales rep making over 400K? You don't see a lot. It depends on the level, but at the enterprise level, average at the top companies, average OTE total comp is around 300K. So, and then also for people that have been at these companies for more than like 3 years, they have a good amount of stock as well. So if you look on like LinkedIn, for example, and you search enterprise sales representative at like a Google, Microsoft, Amazon, anyone that's been there for at least like 2 years, they're all making easy over 400K. Base salary, my base salary, it's 100, I think it's 180. AWS manager salary. So the manager salary, it's dependent on your level. It's the same as the individual contributor or manager. But like an level 6 AWS manager, the range I think it's going to depend on the city too, but it's basically between like 160 and I think like 220 or something like that. Can you compare AWS to OCI briefly? Sure. I mean, so OCI, Oracle Cloud. I mean, essentially, it's it's mostly a stopgap, right? Oracle has a bunch of legacy on-premise customers, and they're essentially using OCI as a way to kind of make sure that they don't get customers that'll churn and kind of get rid of Oracle databases in favor for cloud native databases like on Amazon or on Microsoft. AWS, much broader portfolio of services than OCI. So OTE without equity, RSUs, I think it's like 295, I think 295 or 305, I can't remember. Yeah, it's RSUs. I mean, it's essentially equity. I mean, they're not public. Do you still live in Chicago? Yeah, as you can see it here. Have you considered Dragon for the RSU benefit? Actually, I haven't heard of Dragon. What is Dragon? I'm gonna search that. Dragon RSU. I'm not sure. Why do AWS execs in Seattle dress like they are in college? Great question. I don't know. I think it's just because they've been in those roles for so long that they have no real incentive to kind of dress nicer or anything, right? They're just resting, investing at this point. But yeah, it's pretty funny. All right, guys. Well, these were great questions. Really enjoyed this live. I gotta get to bed. I got an early start, but I'm gonna be doing these lives again every Wednesday at this time. So I'll put it in the profile again where you can like RSVP or whatever. I'm gonna post this recording on YouTube probably tomorrow once it's done posting. So if you want to watch back or rewind it or whatever, you can do that too. If you have any other questions, best way right now to reach me, because I have so many messages I'm still getting through from traveling, best way is comment on my most recent video. Even if it's not a related video, post your questions. I'm gonna try like my very hardest to respond to as many comments as I can in the TikTok videos. So that's gonna be number one. Number two, you can message me on Instagram. Again, I have a big backlog there. I'm gonna try to do some automation to maybe make that a little easier. And then number three, you can try doing LinkedIn. That's where I check that last, basically. I'm mostly using LinkedIn for business purposes. And then once every few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I go through and I just respond to a bunch of messages there. But thanks everyone, really enjoyed it. And again, if you really like the content, make sure you subscribe, share the lives, all that engagement really matters, it really helps out. And then if you also feel like you want to get a little special badge, you can subscribe, and then I'll prioritize any of your questions in the chat and stuff too. You get the little badge, and then I'm gonna rework kind of like a subscriber benefit program there too. So like one of the benefits would be subscriber only lives, for example. So because I can't get through all the questions here, as you can see. So, but thanks everyone. Have a great night.